broke out this little town, gave more than one young life. Their names are etched in granite here to mark their sacrifice. I can't help but think they'd all roll over in their graves if they saw what we turned into, 'cause we haven't kept the faith. In God's country, seems like we lost our way. In God's country, most folks I know would say we'll still fight to keep her free now, won't we? In God's country.
I want you to know at church that we're all about God and country here. We love America. We love our country. And while we don't place that on an equal level with God, it's right below God. And we love our country. We think God has blessed America tremendously. And some of the things that America exemplify are some of the things that I believe God wholeheartedly believes in and we see in His Word. So we're thankful. And so for the next probably 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to be in sort of this patriotic series called Country Heroes. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about sort of some unsung heroes, maybe some guys in the history of America that maybe you've heard of or maybe you have never heard of, but chances are you're not going to learn this kind of stuff in school, okay? Before I get into that, I do want to let you know that on July the 1st is going to be our Freedom Sunday event with HLE Radio, and we're going to have 4 Christian country artists in. It's going to be a great thing. But what we're going to do on Freedom Sunday is we're going to give out, I think, 3 or 4 country hero awards, okay? So what that means is you have an opportunity starting today to nominate either a policeman, a veteran, a military guy, a firefighter, a first responder, ambulance, whatever, any of those folks. And there's some forms out in the Welcome Center. You have an opportunity to nominate them for the Country Hero Award. And on Freedom Sunday, we're going to pick one of those people, and we're going to give them an award at the Freedom Sunday event, okay? So be sure and do that. But we're so thankful for our country heroes here and our country heroes all across the world, all across America today, and those who have passed on. December 7, 1941, anybody know what that is? Pearl Harbor, right? Pearl Harbor was a shock. Now, obviously, I wasn't alive. Was anybody alive during that time? Anybody? You don't have to, yeah. Hey, that's all good. It's all good. So you know what I'm talking about when I tell you that was a shock, wasn't it? Nobody really saw that coming. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and America kind of went into shock. What are we going to do? But it didn't take America long. In August of 1942. The Allied forces, which included America, easily occupied or gained control of a very important airfield in Guadalcanal that just kind of, I guess you could say, a little west of Hawaii. They occupied this thing called Guadalcanal, and it had an airfield on it. And it was a very important place strategically for the Allied forces to occupy. And the Japanese had previously occupied it. Allied forces pushed them off, got rid of them. But the Japanese understood how important that airstrip was. So they weren't willing to let it go without a fight while the Allied forces had removed them initially in August of 1942. They would then come back in October of 1942 and try and regain this airstrip that's called Henderson Airstrip today. And that's where we pick up this story about a guy named John Basilone. Anybody ever heard of a guy named John Basilone? Anybody? A couple people. John Basilone. John Basilone, on the night of October 24th or 25th, 1942, some 3,000 Japanese troops attacked the U.S. Marines, defending the Lunga perimeter and Henderson Field. Among those defenders was Manila John, they called him John Basilone, who was part of the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division. Basilone was in charge of 2 sections of heavy machine guns, about 16 men total. Eyewitnesses remember him fighting valiantly against a savage and determined Japanese attack. After the enemy had put one of Basilone's gun sections out of action, leaving only 2 men to be able to carry on, Basilone picked up a 90-pound, 30 caliber machine gun in a tripod and ran 200 yards to the silenced gun section and started firing point blank into the charging Japanese. Those machine guns were heavy. They were designed for about 2 or 3 men to carry. Basilone picks it up by himself and starts charging. Then, despite being under continual fire, Basilone repaired another machine gun and personally manned it, gallantly holding his line. As the Japanese body started to pile up in front of its emplacement, the enemy attacked Basilone from the rear. And then he killed a number of them with this pistol, Colt 45 pistol. Later that night, ammunition for Basilone's guns were critically low, and its supply lines were cut off. Once again, ignoring the enemy fire around him, Basilone ran some 200 yards through hostile lines to an ammunition point where he gathered up shells and then battled back to his gunner's spot with the ammunition they needed to defend their position. He apparently crawled and sprinted through enemy fire a second time to obtain this much-needed ammunition. And after making it back, he continued to battle against the enemy. Basilone killed at least 38 Japanese soldiers with either a machine gun or a 45 Colt caliber pistol. His hands were blistered from the heat of the machine gun barrel, but he had ignored the pain and continued to fire. Another Marine who was in the same unit as Basilone on Guadalcanal said that Basilone had a machine gun on the go for 3 days and 3 nights without sleep, rest, or food. He was in a good spot, a good emplacement, and he was causing the Japanese lots of trouble, not only firing his machine gun, but also using his pistol. Because John Basilone did not run away, because he stood his ground, this became a turning point in World War II. It did. He played a pivotal role in the battle. That would be one of the turning points. General Douglas MacArthur, who you've probably heard of, called John Basilone a one-man army. You talk about a tough spot. You got thousands of Japanese charging at you. Your comrades all around you, they're gone. But instead of retreating, trying to get away, John Basilone digs in and stands his ground. And because he does that, major things happen. How many of us, I wonder, have been in a tough spot? How many of us have been in an impossible spot where it seems like arrows and shells are flying at us from all different directions? The Bible is full of characters, sort of like John, who were in that same exact scenario, seemingly impossible situations. And when we're in these scenarios, these tough spots, we don't know what to do. The enemy's coming on. We're taking on fire. We have 2 options. The first option is we continue to fight. We hold our ground. Or we give in and we quit. 2 options. For some of us, that tight spot is a health issue. Maybe the doctors have told you that your health is not going to get any better. Or maybe they've told you some bad news. You have an option. You can quit, or you can dig in, stand your ground, and you can fight. Maybe for some of us, it's a different issue. It's a relationship issue where things seem hopeless with somebody we love. And we can just say, you know what, I'm going to stop praying. I'm going to stop caring. I'm going to stop. Or we can dig in, stand our ground, and say, you know what, I'm giving this to God. I'm not going to retreat. I'm going to believe in this change. Some of us may be in the middle of some sort of impossible situation right now. Some of us have just come out of one of those situations. Some of you have experienced this. But some of us, I believe, are right in the middle of some of these difficult situations right now. For John Basilone, giving up was not an option. This morning, I want to tell you this. Don't ever quit. Don't ever give up. I know it's hard right now, but stand your ground. Stand your ground this morning. In 2 Samuel chapter 23, that's where we're going to be this morning. 2 Samuel 23. We're going to read a short passage. And this comes in the context of a little passage that talks about some of King David's best warriors, right? Some of the best warriors that David had. A small militia of extraordinarily skilled warriors. And you can read the list of these guys and some of the things that they did. It's just amazing. And this little militia was not a big army, but it was a tough army. And it was like a highly trained special forces unit, kind of like the Marines or the Navy SEALs. And these guys were amazingly proficient with their weapons. In 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 11, we see a little story about a guy named Shammah. Let's read about him. It's just 2 verses. Check this out. Verse 11. Next to him was Shammah, son of Agi, the Hararite. When the Philistines banded together at a place where there was a field full of lentils, Israel's troops fled from them. Verse 12. But Shammah took his stand in the middle of the field. He defended it and struck the Philistines down. And the Lord brought about a great victory. That's the kind of stuff you see in superheroes movies, isn't it? One guy takes on this huge Philistine army. Here they are, they come attacking. And they want this field full of lentils. You guys ever heard of this thing called lentils? Lentils? You know what that is? Those are peas, right? They're peas. They're peas. And so today we're gonna kind of learn a few lessons from the pea patch. Can we do that? A few lessons from the pea patch today. How many of you like peas like I do? Raise your hand. All right, I'm going to take a quiz real quick. You ready? Or a poll. All right, how many of you would say purple hulls are your favorite peas? Raise your hand. All right, pretty good. All right, how many of you would say brown crowders? Raise your hand. Oh. All right, here's my favorite. How many of you would say the cream peas, like the zipper creams? Oh, yeah, there we go. Am I forgetting anything? Local anyways? Is there anything I'm forgetting? That's pretty much it. So I think purple hulls and cream peas. I love peas, and I think this morning, as Shammah defends his pea field, his pea patch, we can learn some things from him. We can learn some things from him in the pea patch. First thing is this. Understand this, is that opposition is coming for you. And that opposition is active in taking ground. Every day when you wake up and you begin your day, you're entering a battlefield. Every single day. Think about that. We should not be naive and just forget about that or throw that over to the side. There is an enemy that is coming, and he wants to take ground from us, and he is a formidable enemy. And we've got 2 options when he comes. Either we're going to flee, and we're going to give up, and we're going to quit, or we're going to fight. Shammah said, I'm not going anywhere. I don't care. This is my pea patch. I'm not moving. You're going to have to move me if you want to move me. We know what happens. But what I see happening in this culture, especially for those of us who are Christians, is that often, and I'm part of this, we give up too much ground. We give up too much ground. Sometimes we need to sort of evolutionize, and that's a bad word, but we sort of need to progress in our thinking. But for the most part, if you feel differently about something today than you did 10 or 15 years ago, you need to check yourself. Because this world has a way of sort of normalizing things. And that's not healthy. And what's happening is the enemy's coming in, and he's taking ground, and we're just basically retreating. We don't even know what we're doing. There's an enemy that's coming, and he wants to take ground from you. He wants to move you. The second thing that we can learn from the pea patch is this, is that there are some fields, there are some pea patches that are worth defending. This field was probably full of peas. It was harvest time. And so what that meant was that in this culture, this was a very valuable thing. This is how the Israelites, this is how they survived, was on these crops. And so why did Shammah decide to defend this field? Because the crops were so valuable. They were so valuable. There are things in this world, in our lives that are valuable, things that we need to defend. We need to defend our country, and many of you have done that. You've served. We need to defend the ideals that are so great about our country. We need to defend those things. We got to preserve those things for the next generation. I think that you need to defend your marriage, guys and ladies. That's a field worth defending. Don't back up. You need to defend your family. Your family. Protect your family. Don't give ground. And you need to protect your future. Don't give ground on your future. The opposition wants us to make bad choices. Choices that will make our future a much more difficult future. We have opportunities to make choices all the time that can impact our future. And that old devil wants us to make bad choices to mess up our future. And the last thing is, the thing that I think that's most important, that it's worth defending more than anything else, is our minds. Our minds. The enemy, the opposition, wants to play tricks on us. He wants to tell us lies. Folks, you don't have to think every thought that comes into your head. You know that? The moment you catch it, you can say, you know what? I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to go there. That's a field worth defending. The Philistines knew that one way they could have victory over the people of Israel was if they could just starve them out. They would come through these pea fields and they would just start trampling down on the crops, right? Getting rid of them. They would be of no use. And Shammah says, no, not today. Not today. I'm not going down without a fight. You might say, it's just a pea patch. There's probably others. Why risk it? Just let them have it. But I tell you this, give the enemy an inch and he'll take a mile. He will slide in there and before you know it, he will set up strongholds in your life. Things will be there. You don't even know they're there. Be careful. The third thing that we learned from the pea patch this morning is this. Some fields are not worth defending. Some fields are not worth defending. So many times we get consumed with things, with defending fields that really don't matter. A good general, a good army. If you look back probably on most of the wars and most of the famous battles, a lot of those you will see that the general that won used some sort of diversion tactic, right? Some sort of distraction to distract the enemy. In World War II, the Allies and a couple guys that were on the Allied side had a great idea. And they called this the homeless man decoy. You can look this up if you haven't heard of it before. And so what they did was they got a guy who had recently passed away, a homeless guy. And this is a little rough. I'm just being honest with you. And they gave him a fake ID. They gave him fake clothes and all this kind of stuff. And they gave him a wallet, put all this stuff in there. And they strapped a briefcase to his arm with a chain. And they let that guy, they dropped him in some water there close to where they were at. And they knew that there was a German spy on the other side. And that guy would drift up to shore. And when that guy drifted up to shore, they would look through all his stuff. And what they would find in that briefcase was a lot of fake information from the Allies. A lot of supposed battle plans that they were going to do. So when the guy fell out, the German spy actually found the guy. And what did he do? Right back to Hitler. Hey man, check it out. Look what I got. And they're all excited. And here's all these plans and what the Allies were going to do. And so Hitler sends the Nazis to this place. All the while, the Allied forces are sitting there watching, and they go the opposite direction and take the spot they really wanted. The enemy wants to divert your attention away. He will use diversion tactics. He will. The devil wants to distract you. He wants to get your focus off of things that really matter and get it on stuff that doesn't. Here's a couple of examples of that. When someone does you wrong, that gets all over you, doesn't it? It does. It gets all over me. I have a hard time letting that go. And so what creeps into my mind is this thing called revenge. And if I'm not careful, I'll be consumed with getting revenge and getting somebody back. And the enemy is doing that inside of me because he wants to distract me from the things that really matter. Revenge doesn't matter. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. Another thing that the devil will try to distract us with is this trying to impress other people. So many times we think about what somebody else thinks of us. And we want to try to impress them. Folks, that doesn't matter. Here's a good one. Oftentimes, we get distracted in a situation on whose fault it is. When a bad thing happens, when a situation happens, we try to blame somebody else and somebody else's fault, and we want to be right. And so we get consumed with being right all the time. That's pride. And we get distracted from the things that really matter. We also get distracted by stuff, by belongings, things that don't matter. And we get distracted by personal ambitions, things that are centered around me. And lastly, especially in church, we get distracted by religious traditions. Many of you have gone to a church where they care more about their traditions than they do Jesus Christ. And the devil wants to distract people. Distract them from what really matters. What really matters. The last thing we learned from the P patch this morning, and we see this in John Basilone's story too, is that we must persevere. We must persevere. An author, Alec McKenzie, said this: the ability to concentrate, to persevere on a course without distraction or diversion is a power that has enabled men of moderate capability to reach heights of attainment that have eluded the genius. There's no secret formula other than to persevere. To persevere. Sometimes success in life, all we got to do to be successful in life is just persevere. Don't give ground. Don't back up. 3 verses for you, and we're going to get out of here this morning. I want to read to you. And man, this just speaks for itself. 1 Corinthians 15:58 says this: therefore, my brothers and sisters, stand firm, let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. James 1:12 says this: blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love Him. Remain steadfast, doesn't give ground. And the last one, Galatians 6:9 says this: and let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. Folks, don't give up this morning. Don't quit. I don't know what that means for you, but don't stop. Don't quit. Don't give ground. Don't back up. The enemy wants you to do that. He wants to distract you. Persevere this morning. The battle is the Lord's. What do you do when the going gets tough? I hope this morning that this would inspire you, that you would stand firm and that you would not let go. What do you do when the enemy begins to come from all directions? I hope you stand firm and you don't let go. What do you do when you face financial difficulty, when you face health problems, when you face betrayal, abandonment, rejection, and pain? I hope you stand firm and don't let go. The battle belongs to the Lord, and He will win it in His time. Our part is to stand firm, not move, until God gives the victory. Because He certainly will. John Basilone comes home after this war, and he's awarded some of the biggest, some of the Medal of Honor, Navy Cross, some of the biggest, best awards that he could be awarded. He is a hero in the 40s. He gets fame, fortune, influence, but all the while he wants to get back in the game. He wants to get back in the game. The military said, we would rather you not. We'd rather you stay home. And John says, no, I got to be with my boys. I got to be with my boys. And so a couple years later, John Basilone dies in war at the Battle of Iwo Jima. He dies. He doesn't get to see the result of the war, does he? But here's the thing, and I believe he knows this right now. We won that war. He didn't see it, but we won that war. We won it. And for some of us, as we think about this right now, the reality is we may not see the victory, but I can promise you, we will win the war. We will win the war. You may die in this battle, but you will win the war. John Basilone would tell you it's all worth it. And Jesus Christ tells you today that He's worth your everything. Get in the game this morning. Don't back up. Don't recede. Stand firm. Stand your ground. I don't know what that means for you this morning, but surely that means something to somebody. Would you stand firm this morning? Would you be steadfast? Would you fight? Fight. Fight. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, help us to have bravery and courage. The bravery and courage that we need to live in this world and to live a life that's honoring you. God, we find ourselves and our faith at odds with things that we see on TV, things that are in our country and in our culture. And God, help us to stand firm. Not in a hateful way, in a loving way, but God, not to recede. We're not going to back up. We're not going to do that. And God, I pray for that person right now that's in the middle of a struggle. In the middle of a season in their life where they feel like the enemy's just shooting all around them. And man, they're dodging bullets left and right. God, I know that's hard. But God, would you just show them that you love them this morning? That you're there in that foxhole with them. That as long as they fight, you'll be right there with them. You're not going to retreat. You're not going to recede. God, help us not to forget the hope that there is in Jesus. The hope that means that we ultimately will win the war. And this morning, if there's anybody here, Father, they're here today for the first time, or maybe they're here, they've been struggling with this for a long time, but maybe they don't know you. They've never met you. They've never invited you to come into their life. This morning, God, I pray that they would do that for the first time. They would make that step, make that choice to consciously follow you and give their life to you. Totally, 100%. Give them the boldness and the courage to do that. God, thank you for your example in Scripture. An example we find in our country and the history with John Basilone and with so many others that are even here today that fought, that had the courage to not move and to stand so that we can stay here and we can stand here today in freedom and talk about you. In Jesus' name we pray and we ask these things. Amen.